What's going on, everybody? Barrett here with Spec of Tech. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the phenomenal Arendal 1723 tower speakers. We're going to be talking the build quality, treble, mid-range, bass, my overall opinion of the sound quality. I'm also going to do a quick unboxing to show you what's in the box and also do a quick tutorial on how to install the feet for those of you that are interested. I do have demos as well, but that is going to be in a separate video that I'll link in the top right hand corner because some of you want demos, some of you don't. So I figured if I put it in a separate video, those that want to watch it can go click on it. Those that do not want to watch it can just watch this video. All right, so first things first, let's quickly get them out of the box and show you how to install the feet, but we're going to do this really quick, and then we're going to get into the sound quality, the build quality, the specs and price and all that after that. And as you saw in the unboxing, guys, I did also get the 1723S side surround, so I will be doing a review on those, so make sure that you stay tuned for that on this channel. All right, so now that we have them unboxed and we have the feet installed, let's quickly talk about the build quality because it's something that really stands out with these speakers. So let's cover that before I get into the sound quality. So obviously the first thing you're going to notice is the finish on these. I chose them in the gloss black, but they are available in a matte or satin black as well as gloss white or matte or satin white as well. And when it comes to that finish, they did a fantastic job, guys. The gloss black does look really nice here, looks very premium, and it does add a nice appeal to these speakers. But it's not just in the finish that they did an excellent job. The build quality all around on these speakers is just very well done. There's no other way to put it, guys. They did a very good job putting this speaker together and making it look very premium and still keeping the price down. And while we're talking about their price, they are $3,699 US, which works out to about 5,100 Canadian dollars. But for that price, you are getting a very well-built speaker. First of all, Arendal did choose to use a high-density fiber board instead of a medium-density fiber board, or HDF versus MDF. Most speakers are made with MDF, but I do like their choice to use an HDF here, which will reduce resonances. Another area they chose to step up their game is with the speaker terminals. Arendal chose to use rhodium-plated copper, which rhodium is very conductive, as is copper, but it also adds a very nice aesthetic to it. It's a very, almost like a chrome looking metal, but they chose rhodium because it is very conductive, and of course copper is as well. So it not only serves a purpose, but it also adds a premium aesthetic as well. And guys, I've had much more expensive speakers in my room here, and their speaker terminals didn't look half as good as these. I'm not sure how conductive they were because I'm not entirely sure what metal they were using. Some of them looked like pretty cheap metal for an expensive speaker, but this being an inexpensive speaker or relatively inexpensive speaker and having such nice terminals is very nice to see. In addition to that, they are mounted to a very nice, aesthetically pleasing brushed aluminum plate on the back. Again, there's a lot of more expensive speakers that I've had in my room that either had a plastic or just not as nice of a plate for mounting the speaker terminals to. So it's nice to see that they did take extra attention to detail to even make the speaker terminals and the plate they're mounted to look nice and serve a purpose as well. I also want to point out for the build qualities, they include a magnetic metal grill. So again, they're not really cheaping out on anything here. A lot of companies, they just offer you a magnetic plastic grill, which sure, it's going to work. It's going to do its job. It's functional. But again, Arendal didn't want to cut any corners as far as I can tell. So they give you a magnetic metal grill, which adds just another level of protection. Even if it gets hit fairly hard, that metal is going to do a much better job at protecting your speaker than a plastic one would. The last thing that I want to touch on the build quality is the drivers themselves. So I did review a speaker in the past. I'm not going to throw out any names here. For those of you that know, you know, but I measured the drivers and they were significantly smaller than their claimed size. Now, of course, I know that speakers do incorporate the basket when they're giving that measurement, but these went over and above. They included everything that surrounded the speaker. So what was claimed to be a 7-inch speaker ended up, I believe, being about 5.5 inches. And I had 6.5-inch woofers that were much larger than this claimed 7-inch woofer. But with the Arendals, they are claiming an 8-inch woofer, and it is very close to that. Of course, they are including a little bit of the basket, but I would say that these drivers are much more accurately measured than the speakers that I reviewed in the past that I'm talking about here. So the drivers themselves are nice and large. They have 4 8-inch drivers along with the tweeter, and the tweeter does have a nice waveguide around it, which looks quality as well. So when it comes to the build quality, guys, to sum it all up, they did a very good job here. I did try to find something that I didn't like just to kind of balance out the review a little bit, and I didn't find anything, like when it comes to the build quality, I didn't find anything that I didn't really like. They've done an excellent job at the price point. Even ignoring the price point, they've done an excellent job on the build of this speaker, and they went over and above what some other speaker companies do for a much more expensive speaker. I would say that they're cutting more corners than Arendal did with these speakers at their price point. But Arendal didn't just stop at giving you a nice looking and well-built speaker. They wanted to make sure that they had the sound quality to match, and I think they really did nail it here. So let's start off with the treble. When talking about the treble, I would say that there is a slight bump in the treble here, and there is some of you that may find them to be a tad bit bright, and I think I've even read some comments online about that. But the great thing about these speakers is that they are very EQable. They're designed very well, so when you do apply EQ, it responds very well in return. For those of you that know what you're doing, you could easily just EQ it and put a little bit of a shelf EQ on the tweeter just to bring it down just a little bit. Or if you have tone controls, you could always just trim the treble a little bit. Or if you have a bit of a warmer amp or a tube amp or Class A amp, that does smooth it out a little bit as well. I wouldn't shy away from the speaker simply because it's a little bit bright, because they are very EQable, or you could even just toe them out a little bit to trim the treble down on them. So it's not, I don't want you to come away from this review thinking, oh, these are a very bright speaker. They're not. They are. There's so many different ways that you could deal with that treble that I wouldn't be concerned about it, but I did want to point it out and make sure that you're aware that there is a little bit of a sharpness in the treble. With that said, they are very detailed. They're very clean. They have a very nice decay in the treble, like when listening to sound effects, for example, like with glass breaking or anything with a sort of a ringing to it. They have a very nice decay, and they do show that detail, even though it might be subtle. They do show that detail very well with this tweeter. So moving on to the mid-range, I would say that it is sufficiently detailed. I wouldn't say necessarily that the mid-range is a strong suit of these speakers, but it is well done. It is quite detailed. There is a slight richness or a slight warmth to it, which I haven't heard anybody mention. I mean, obviously I haven't watched every review on them, but the reviews I've watched, I haven't heard anybody mention that richness in the mid-range, but it is what I experienced in my room, so I wanted to make sure to point that out. So the mid-range does work fantastic for male voices, for female voices. It is a very pleasing sound. It's a very pleasing mid-range. I don't want to say that the richness or the warmth is a negative thing because a lot of people prefer that, but it is something that you could EQ a little bit as well to make it sound better to your liking. All right, so moving along to the bass. I haven't mentioned this yet, but this is a 2.5-way speaker. We'll get to that when we mention the specs, but it's kind of a little bit less exciting, so I'm going to save that for closer to the end of the video. But the bass here is very well done in my opinion. When it comes to, tight punchy bass, it does an excellent job there because you do have multiple 8-inch drivers providing that bass to you in that 2.5-way configuration. So the punch on this speaker is very well done. I would say that the nuance or the intelligibility of the bass is above average. It's not the best I've heard, but it's definitely above average, and I would say above the price point of this speaker. So you're getting better bass than what you would expect for the price of the speaker, in my opinion. And there is a decent amount of rumble there as well. So 2-channel listeners, if you are going to use this as a vented speaker, then you probably could get away without a subwoofer. I always prefer to use a subwoofer even for speakers that are very capable, but for those of you that are purists out there, you probably could get away with not using a subwoofer. And when it comes to their bass response, there is actually 3 different responses listed on the website. That's because that these speakers do come with port bungs so that you can plug a certain amount of ports to run them in either, fully vented, partially vented, or sealed mode. But in sealed mode, you have a frequency response plus minus 3 dB from 55 to 20 kilohertz. And with 3 vents open, you have 38 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And then with 2 vents open, you have 34 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So for me personally, I preferred to have just the 3 ports open. It sounded good. It was very well balanced. It had a nice punch to it. It had some good rumble to it. But of course, everybody is different. But it's nice to see that they have this option for you to either plug one of the ports to get a little bit more lower extension or plug all the ports to provide a sealed speaker. Like I said, everybody's different, so you would have to play around and see what you prefer. All right, so let's kind of sum up the sound quality as a whole. I would say that these are very close to neutral. There is, like I said, a little slight bump in the treble, and there is a little bit of warmth in the mid-range. But I wouldn't say that it's kind of overly excessive to make them a warm or overly bright speaker. Like say versus something like the Paradigm Founder 120Hs that I had in here, those were definitely a warm speaker. They had some warmth to them, which does sound great for music, especially for a lot of you out there. But if you're looking for a neutral speaker, that's not it. But I would say that these are very close to neutral with just some slight variations in the mid-range and the treble. So when using these speakers for home theater, guys, they are absolutely fantastic. They are THX Ultra certified, which just means that you can pretty much crank these till kingdom come, and they're gonna have very low distortion. And guys, I did test this out. I cranked it up and they remained crisp and clean, very punchy, just with low distortion. So if you are looking for something to put in your home theater that will give you that THX sound, that dynamic high volume sound that is distortion free, these are a fantastic choice, especially at their price point. And the great thing is they're not just good for movies, they're also fantastic for music. They have a great detailed high end, they have a great mid-range, and the bass, I don't want to say is exceptional. Like I've seen some pretty exceptional speakers in here, but it's getting up there with response down to 34 hertz. That's nothing to shake a stick at. So all in all, they're just a really good all-arounder speaker. That's something that's close to neutral. For those of you out there that are kind of purists and they want something neutral, these are pretty close to it. So if you are looking for just a fantastic all-around speaker that's going to be exceptional for movies, it's going to be amazing for music. Even if you're just doing it for a home theater, these are fantastic speakers. Even if you're just doing it for music, these are still a speaker that you should be looking at. They've just done a really good job of making an exceptional all-arounder here. But that's my opinion on the sound and the build quality of these speakers. I did promise some specs, so let's cover some of the specs now. All right, so the Arendal 1723 towers, as I stated earlier, are a 2.5-way speaker. They are 4 ohm nominal. Their tweeter is a 28 millimeter, which I believe works out to about 1 inch. They have 4 8-inch woofers. The enclosure can be sealed or vented. That's your choice. They do include the port bungs as well as spiked feet and rubber feet. The height with the rubber feet is 45 3/4 inches tall, and the height with the spiked feet is 46.8 inches tall, and 10.8 inches wide, and 15 3/4 inches deep. So that pretty much covers the specs of the 1723s. If you do want to find out more, you can always go to the website. I've dropped links down in the description below for these speakers. But all in all, guys, these are definitely a this speaker that you should be looking at. There's nothing really negative that you can point out. Of course, there's going to be personal preferences, but I was looking for something that was either poor design or poor build quality, poor sound, and there just really isn't anything of note to point out here with these speakers. So I know that there's some reviewers out there that have listed these as giant killers, and I suppose you could look at them that way because they offer such a great value in the build quality and such a great value in the sound quality, especially with the THX Ultra certification. These things can go loud, they can be dynamic, and remain low distortion. So they just kind of offer you as much as they can at their price point. And I do like to see that when a speaker company is offering you more instead of less. They're not trying to cut corners. They're trying to give you a good crossover. They're trying to give you great sound, well-designed sound, a well-designed cabinet with great build quality, great build materials. Just all in all, they are giving you more, and I like it. And if you guys have stuck around this long in the video, please do subscribe, tick the bell icon if you do, and please take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. I would also really appreciate if you guys would consider supporting the channel. I have dropped my Patreon link down in the description below. You can also hit the thanks or the join button right below this video. Remember to enjoy your systems. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.